Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to be discussing to you what leadership is all about. This is a report in industrial or organizational psychology, which is very essential or very relevant, as this now talks about what if you get hired and you are in the leadership position, or how do we see the best fit for leadership position. So in our overview, we have the introduction, then personal characteristics associated with leadership, and then specific leader skills. So let me ask you this question. Are leaders truly born or are they trained? Can you become a leader if you are born into a royal family? That is the question that most experts are getting debates about. Like they're trying to fight whatever is the right concept, because someone can say that you are born into leadership. Some can say that you can be trained for leadership. However, in this topic, we're going to explore two different concepts on how leadership should be. If it's genetic or it can be acquired through training, or should we say in a scope of in a sense that we can get it as a skill. So some believe that leadership is an inherent trait. However, some scientists also believe that leadership can be can be can be achieved through training. So we have our first topic right here. We have leadership emergence. Is the idea that people who become leaders possess traits or characteristics different from people who do not become people or who do not become leaders. Research to some extent indicates that somewhere between 17% to 30% of leader emergence has a genetic basis. So leader emergence, what this means is that some people are born unique to the point that they are born into leadership, that they are different from those who do not become leaders, and that the who becomes leaders is that that in some way there is actually uh, a genetic trait to it. So that is what leader emergence is all about. Now, we have leader emergence. As a continuation to the topic previously, there's no such thing as a leadership gene, but individuals would inherit certain traits and abilities that would influence our decision to seek leadership. So, there could be certain circumstances or certain situations that would force us to think that we should become leaders out of the sake of the certain circumstance that we're trying to alleviate. For example, there was a certain circumstance that you had to face in school, for example, a research paper. Now, the research paper would actually influence you to get the decision to become a leader. So again, leader emergence isn't all about genetic, but it could also be circumstantial. So it's either you are in a situation or you are born with a leadership gene or a leadership trait. So there are recent reviews suggesting of the following: that people high in openness, conscientiousness, and extraversion, and low in neuroticism are more likely to emerge as leaders than their counterparts. So, some people who are taking the personality test, such as the Big Ocean or the Big Five, which is openness, conscientiousness, extrovertedness, um, agreeableness, and neuroticism, those who are scoring higher in openness, conscientiousness, and extroversion, and are relatively stable in their emotions, or those who are scoring low in neuroticism, that just means to say, or it can be a predicament for us to predict that this type of person can become a leader. So high self-monitors, people who adapt their behavior to the social situation, emerge as leaders more often than low self-monitors. So meaning that people who are not highly adaptable to certain situations. When we say high self-monitors, these are the type of people who actually emerge as leaders, especially if the situation forces them to. They don't just become leaders um, out of the necessity that they want to become a leader because they want to be in power. No, they want to adapt to the social situation, what is needed at this moment. So as soon as they have realized what is needed at this moment, they're already there. Try to give support um, with the certain situation that they're in. So those are leaders with high self-monitors, according to Day and Schleicher. Um, in the year 2002, more intelligent people are more likely to emerge as leaders that are less intelligent people. So what we can say is that as soon as you are smart or you are academically smart or perhaps you are intelligent in your own conventional ways, you can also become a leader or you are more likely to emerge as leaders. Because again, leadership does need brains, not just brains. So looking at patterns of abilities and personality is more useful than looking at individual and traits. Yeah. Looking at patterns of abilities and personality traits is more useful than looking at individual abilities and traits. So in this research, they actually suggest that it's actually good to look at individual traits and abilities rather than patterns and traits. So what you can say is that sometimes tests may not be a predicament to predicting certain leaders emerging from certain situations, but sometimes individual abilities or train or skills that they have gotten through training or through training can actually predict that they can also become a leader, especially with highly skilled people. They're the ones that are usually leading the team, especially with artworks or trying to paint a mural or architecture or engineering, of course. Now, once we have gotten the sense of what it is like being a leader or what it means to be a leader, and now that we have gotten that there is actually a trait between genes, personality traits, and abilities, we have to learn about why people would like to lead. So in this slide, motivation to lead, we have three: affective identity motivation, non-calculative motivation, and social normative motivation. Affective identity motivation enjoys being in charge and leading others. They actually like to lead for the sake that they like to lead others. It is their own self motivation or their own self agenda that they have become a leader because they just like it or they are happy doing it, or perhaps it is their passion in leading others. So non calculative motivation seeks leadership positions due to it resulting to their own personal gains. Some others would actually get themselves promoted because, of course, they have their own agendas. However, this agenda isn't based off their own happiness. That they would like to lead a team, they would like to lead people, they would like to guide people. No, but with non-calculative motivation, this is this is the type of motivation of leadership that comes from the need that they have actually a personal agenda. Could be they want power, they want to be high in the seating in the company. Can also be that they want higher salary because of course most of the time those that are in the leadership position actually has a higher pay as compared to those who are team members. So they kind of want that, and especially in today's economy that there is high in inflation, prices are going up. So of course, you'd want to be promoted to get higher pay. And also getting into leadership position actually means that you have a more stable job because of course they can just easily fire you unless they have someone to replace right away. And mind you, being in the leadership position is actually really hard. Don't just think about the pay, think about what you're getting into or what you're going into, of course, when you're trying to enter that position. And lastly, we have social normative motivation, becoming a leader out of a sense of duty. So now we have uh, leading out of a sense of passion, we have leading out of a sense of their own need or their own agendas. Now social normative motivation actually there's a bit of a heroic type of sense leadership, because someone has to become a leader because they felt that they have to be, or there's that sense of duty in them that when the certain situation forces them out to become a leader, they would actually emerge as one. And this can actually a great motivation to have in a leadership position because of course you are called. well, once you are called for something else, you become passionate to it. So yeah, that is the social normative motivation. So leader performance involves the idea that leaders who perform well possess certain characteristics that poorly performing leaders do not. So leader performance actually is a concept that we can use to evaluate leadership or to evaluate those who are already in the position and how bad they are and how good they are. Job choice exercise, as developed by Stahl and Harrell, the person reads description of jobs that involve varying degrees of power, achievement, and affiliation needs and rates how desirable he finds each particular job. These ratings are then subjected to a complicated scoring procedure that uses regression analysis to reveal scores on the three needs category. So, three needs being the first three motivation that we have discussed earlier. So, job choice exercise is actually a diagnostic that we can try to administer to the workforce or administer to the employees, those who are highly interested to becoming a leader. So we now have a surface level idea of what are the tests that we can actually administer. Now let's take a dive in on what are the psychological tests that we can use to provide an avenue of predicting someone should become a leader or if they are bad as a leader. So we have the thematic app perception test, a projective test in which a person is shown a series of pictures and asked to tell a story about what is happening in each. These diagnostic tests is actually a pretty expensive one because of course you have to hire somebody who is actually trained in projective ink blot test. Remember that projective ink blot test is actually a type of psychosocial test or a type of psychodynamic based test that needs intense training. Needs, a personal characteristic that has received some support pertains to a leader's need for power, need for achievement, and need for affiliation. So this is a type of diagnostic or a type of psychological test that we can actually administer to our participants or to our employees or to the workforce on what type of need do they have, which one is greater, the need for power, which one is greater, the need for achievement, and lastly the need for affiliation. So self-monitoring, a concept that focuses on what leaders do as opposed to what they are. So this is actually not a type of psychological test or some psychological diagnostic test, but rather self-monitoring is actually you're going to be given a survey in which you're already in that position, right? So once you're in that position, you're going to answer you're going to answer that survey or the test, and we will and the HR or somebody's in charge or the psychometrician of the company is going to assess you whether you are a bad leader or not based on the answers that you have answered of course in the diagnostic exam. So we have talked about motivation, what it means to be a leader, the emergence of leadership, and what it means to emerge as a leader. Now we have to talk about the bad side of leadership. What does it mean to become a unsuccessful leaders? So there are actually traits and behaviors that actually lead to somebody becoming a bad leader. The traits and behaviors are not necessarily the opposite of successful leaders, but is influenced by the following factors. Lack of training. When we say lack of training, that could mean that they don't have the exact skill sets or the best fit abilities that they can have or that they can get during training. Now imagine you can compare two leaders, one that is trained, one that is not. We can't just say that leaders are good based on their own experience or based on the experience that they have in their other company. Remember that each company actually has a unique culture. So therefore, getting the training versus not getting training would actually put you in a bad situation because you're not that aware of the culture of the company, and of course you're not that engrossed. Because in training, of course, for leadership, this doesn't just end with getting the skills to becoming a leader or to becoming a successful leader, but actually training in a company or in the culture itself actually provides you an avenue on what the company is actually like, or it actually gets you in touch with others and how the company actually moves all around the other employees. So cognitive deficiencies, unable to learn from experience and is unable to think strategically. Now remember earlier that there was a research paper that actually suggested that more intelligent people are more likely to emerge as leaders. This can be actually particularly true because once you are in a leadership position, you will be actually tasked to analyze numbers, to provide insights to the company, to provide insights on problems that you face or that the company is actually facing, or perhaps provide some ideas on how the company can be improved or how the situation can be improved. If you do have cognitive deficiencies, that just means that probably you could be delayed in thinking in the sense that you don't think out of the box, because if you're a leader you have to think out of the box. And of course personality, though you are intelligent, though you have training, however there are actually personality traits that are best fit to becoming a leader. For example, you're already trained in the culture or in the company culture. You already have the intelligence to do so. However, you're not a person people. You are introverted. If you're introverted, that just means that you can't deal with people. And remember that being in leadership actually means that you have to deal with people. You have to solve problems. And if your personality isn't the best fit, then you're not. Then you're becoming an unsuccessful leader. Sorry. So that is it for my report.